Welcome to the Resolve.ai webinar series. Before we get started, let us quickly go over a few housekeeping items. We love interactive events, so please feel free to ask any question in the Q&A section, which can be accessed at the bottom of your screen. We'll answer those questions towards the end during the Q&A session. If there are more questions than we can answer during the session, we'll get back to you, we promise.
Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today. Really appreciate sharing part of your day with us today. My name is Manish Sharma. I'm your host. For last 20 years or so, I've been involved in employee-facing technologies, employee service desk, employee support, and employee experience issues. And today we'll be exploring about what is this new construct where work from anywhere is going to happen in 2022 and beyond. How do we deal with it? How do we support our employees? How do we present them with options that they like and we are able to engage them better? That is the session that we are going to talk about and explore together. So the question that we have is, what was the impact of the pandemic on employers and employees? Well, you know, some of the impact is very clear in front of both you and us. We all know about this impact. From an employer, you know, obviously a lot of us are working from home. You know, for last 2 years, I have worked for most part from home, and that really changes things. So that is something that all the employers had to deal with. They had to facilitate everyone working from home, bring them bunch of technologies and other support. And then the second thing was, you know, the labor market has really become competitive. This has really happened over last, you know, a month or so. What am I saying? Last year or so. And that has really, you know, changed the game for us in HR and, you know, people who are enterprise leaders. The pinch for that is being felt by everyone. What that means is the focus has now suddenly, it's 2022, everyone is starting, and the focus for the management seems to be, how do I hire the right people? How do I support the people? How do I engage them? How do I enable? These were the same topics on which a lot of people were talking, you know, just minimal possible effort. If you go back to 2019 and before that, these topics were hot, but not that hot. There were always other priorities. But now suddenly these topics have become the hottest topics around there because everyone wants to focus, how do I keep, hire, retain employees? In terms of the bigger picture, right, I think what everyone is seeking is, you know, how are we going to, suppose if I'm trying to hire 100 people, new people, and I can only hire 90 new people. How can I, you know, maximize the productivity? How can I have the workforce that I have more stable? Because if everyone is walking in and walking out every 4 months or 5 months, that's terrible for me. So how do I manage those kind of things? Before we go into the solution or look a little bit deeper, let's talk about what we think is going to happen in 2022, right? And I don't have a crystal ball, but these are things that all of us are looking at, and I've kind of put it together. So it is being said that pandemic will lose its intensity in next month or next few weeks or something like that. And if that happens, that'll be great. I think all of us are hoping for that. And a lot of prediction and projection model seems to be saying that that is going to be the case. We are going to have a fantastic summer, and what that means is people are going to come back to offices, and events are going to happen, conferences are going to happen again, and in-person conversations are going to increase from where we are. So that's the general prediction. However, despite this rosy picture, as leaders, all the leaders are preparing for any subsequent waves or winter wave or something new happening. Nobody wants to be caught in such a situation where they cannot respond to it. So the planning for future is going to have a built-in factor now, where employee engagement will become a focus. So it is not something temporary. We do not believe that the focus on employee engagement has come today, but tomorrow it will go away. I think this is the new normal, where employers are going to look at employee engagement in a very serious way. Couple of other perspective. If you look from employer and employee perspective, so from an employee perspective, right, you can hire from anywhere. Initially, if let's say you are a university and you are in a certain area, you could only hire people from that city or that state, because you'll want people who are coming to office every day and doing this stuff. That is not true anymore. Most employers have started to hire people from anywhere, especially in current labor market. We are hiring people wherever they're available, especially in technology, in customer support and whatnot. So that is one fundamental change, and that is altering how our workforce are. Second thing, the workforce have become really global, right? Like you might have a person in Boise, Idaho, second person in New York, and so on and so forth. Our own company has people in so many cities now. When we started, we had people in only 2 or 3 cities, but now we have people in so many cities. So this seems to be our reaction to the opportunity that has been given, but also to the labor market situation that we are facing. On the employee side, what that means is, well, they have become a little bit more, they are thinking a lot more about what kind of company they're working for, because they can just work for some other company. If they're working from home or working, the opportunity seems to have increased. So am I working for the right company? Am I getting the right salary? Does my company care about me? Do I feel happy? Am I connected to the company? Do I feel invested? Those kind of questions are becoming important for the employee, and they are really evaluating these questions, as opposed to earlier, when you might go and work for a company for 3 years without thinking too much. You show up, you do your work, and you go back. But now things are changing a little bit. People are asking these questions more often. So I like to say that pandemic has lowered the barrier in terms of hiring, in terms of where you can hire and who you can hire. Those kind of things have lowered, but it has also raised the bar for the employers. Now employers need to do a lot more to retain the people, because people are asking a lot many more questions. Let's take a typical scenario of an employee experience, especially I'm assuming post-pandemic scenario, how a typical employees, let's say you hired a new employee, you're a generic company, you're a new employee joins, what happens? So it's possible, and I'm just drawing out a scenario. By the way, this entire scenario is based on a real story from a real employee who shared this with me. They joined a company month 1, and the onboarding was not optimal. There were certain gaps. There were periods of lull when nothing was happening and nobody was contacting them. There were issues around training, but that's okay. Even in the beginning, everyone is more forgiving. Everyone is more excited. Everyone kind of knows that these are the areas where a lot of companies don't do particularly well. Month 2, now it's time to dig deep into the work or get started. Your onboarding is kind of finished. Now the problem is that there's no personal connection with people around you, because all you have been doing is this Teams call and maybe Zoom call or whatever, and no water cooler conversations, no going to a beer after work. So the bonding, no real bonding. So you are finishing month 2, you still don't know if you really belong here or not. Then month three, and this is again for people who are joining right now, this is also a scenario that played out actually, but this is a scenario. Month three, let's assume there's a payroll issue or there's a laptop issue or some kind of issue that you have. Now you're testing, how your new organization, new enterprise works. And what you find is that, maybe if it is great, then your journey will go differently. But let's assume it didn't go well. For the example that I was telling, it didn't go too well for the person that I knew. And what happened? They have a payroll issue. They write an email. The response took a while to come. The resolution take even longer to come. And now you are kind of, stewing, right? You are frustrated. You're disappointed with the delayed response. You're reading too much into it. Maybe a single transaction, you're reading too much into it. But who's going to stop you from reading? You don't have anyone else to vent. You don't have friends in the company that you can just go and chat with and vent. So it takes a little bit different color. This whole situation takes a little bit color as opposed to, pre 2019 era. And then the worst thing happens. Employee kind of makes their mind saying, listen, this just didn't work out for me. And maybe an ex-colleague reached out to you or what have you. And, you say, well, I think I'm going to go somewhere else. That is a story that happens. And that's a very sad story because everyone invested time, energy, effort, and nothing came out of it. So the problem, the way we look at it, is that lacking traditional in-person touch point. Employees are evaluating employers based on day-to-day transactions. So the day-to-day transactions, things that were okay earlier because they were one of 60 data points that the employee had. Now they are one of 10 data points that the employee has. So they are taking more significance. And therefore, it is really important for us to get those transactions right in order to give the support, give a great feeling to the employee. Now, before we go into the solution, let's look at what is perhaps not a solution. And due to a variety of reasons, I mean, they might be the solution, but I mean, we think that these might not be the solutions due to multiple reasons. More salary, obviously, right? If I could give everyone 20% more raise today and then 20% more raise tomorrow, probably the employees will stick. Why not, right? But is it possible and feasible to do that? Do we have unlimited budgets? Perhaps not. Traditional perks, I don't know, foosball table, free cafeteria lunch, I don't know, the things traditionally we used to do. They don't have the same appeal anymore as they used to have earlier because the context has changed. Well, we can do virtual get-to-know meetings, right? And they are okay, but they are not the same as people generally connecting over a beer or talking to each other in longer free conversations. Zoom parties is the same thing. A lot of companies tried and they're great. I mean, don't get me wrong. These are not zero, but do you want to do one more call after 7 hours of being on the screen is a question. And of course you can add just more support agents. Why not, right? Your support is not great. You can add 5 more support agents. But really, first of all, do you have the budget, and would you have people to hire today in the job market? Do you have 5 more people that you can go and get and train? That's a project by itself. So what is lacking in the current context is the feedback loop is missing. We don't know what the employee is thinking. If you go back to the last story, what the employee was thinking, the employee was completely unaware that it's come to a place where the person wants to resign. There's limited resources, limited budget, and there's a lack of personal touch. So these are the things which are missing. I like to make this quote. This is not my quote. Someone else made it on LinkedIn and I picked it up. But essentially, they said the perks are changing. Context has changed, and now you need different kind of perks. You want to provide things by which people feel productive and effective, and they have flexibility and they have quick responses. So the game of employee enablement and engagement and support is really changing. To put things in perspective, the new tools are available, right? And what has changed? Well, there are things like Microsoft Teams. Before 2019, I didn't know too many organizations which are using Microsoft Teams in a regular way. But now they are, and Slack is there too. So there are a lot of collaboration tools which are being used. The employees are more tech savvy. It might be because everyone is using more tech at home. It might be a multitude of things, but people are more tech savvy today than they were earlier. Everyone, on an average, that index is just going up. And power of AI is something that has been woven into our day-to-day life. So a lot of people know Alexa or have Alexa or Hello Google, or they've experienced technology in some way or the other. So this is the things which have changed. Apart from pandemic, these are the other things which have changed. So let's look at what might be the solution, right? And it doesn't take an HR expert to kind of look at the kind of things which might be solutions. So one, better onboarding. You can do any survey of leadership at any point of time, and if you tell me top 5 things for employees to improve, they'll say employee onboarding, perhaps number 1, number 2. So better onboarding, yeah, absolutely. Better understanding of employee pain point, right? We really don't know, as I show you the case study, the employer really didn't realize what was the issue until too late. So better understanding of employee pain point at an individual level and at an aggregate level. Better support, right? If you have an issue, I want the ability to support you right away so that you don't feel abandoned at all. Better training. Can I inculcate the company culture in you by supporting you better, by training you better? Can I open a dialogue which is via training rather than have a traditional training where I'm just throwing a bunch of stuff at you? Can I open a dialogue via training? And can I do better engagement and service, which is a topic by itself, and I'm going to cover all 5 of these and tell you what we think about it and how these things can be done in a very dramatically different way from how they are being done today. So let's focus one by one. So better onboarding. Well, first impressions count today more than ever. Like we are showing in the example, although you are very forgiving in the beginning because you're excited about joining the new company, you've already decided to join this company, but an onboarding has to be done, can be a pivotal point where you can change the employee experience altogether. It is also a subliminal messaging that you are sending to people. If you do great onboarding, you are telling them that you are a modern enterprise, you are supporting you're the kind of enterprise that supports the employees well. You're a kind of enterprise which is efficient in how it handles business processes. And if you're using AI, you're telling them, listen, when you join an organization, you're going to see a lot of AI stuff, interesting stuff on how you work. And by the way, you should have ability to bring human help whenever required. So AI doesn't work on its own. You need a system which can bring quick AI and human help, a combination of that whenever required. So all of these things, right, are important in a modern onboarding system. But all this can only be done when your backend onboarding process is solid. You cannot just put lipstick on a pig. You can give a great employee experience when your backend system is strong too. And we are going to talk about that a little bit. So I'm going to show you a small video to hammer home the point of how a smart onboarding can look like, because no matter of PPT will help you understand how the onboardings are being done today, the modern ones. And this is a case for retail industry. So we had created this video for retail, but have a look at it and see what you feel about it.
Always Sunny Retail Store wants to make it easier and accessible for applicants to apply for jobs at their stores. Andrea likes Always Sunny Retail Store and wonders if she can work there. Luckily for her, she can now apply within minutes. Always Sunny uses Resolve.ai, an AI-powered virtual assistant built for Microsoft Teams for retail operations optimization. If the candidate has any questions, they can easily get help at any time. Resolve.ai can also help unwrap any paperwork once the candidate is selected. Andrea is now joining the Always Sunny retail store. On her first day, Vera brings to her a welcome message from the regional manager and also helps her with some orientation training. Beyond hiring and orientation training, Resolve.ai now becomes a first line of support for Andrea in answering her day-to-day operational questions. Resolve.ai can bring in specialists or create tickets to help resolve any issue for Andrea. Resolve.ai provides 24/7 single point of support to Andrea and all other employees of Always Sunny. Resolve.ai is the innovative Microsoft Teams-based employee service desk.
So we'll stop here, but hopefully it gave you an idea about how you can go and do the complete employee onboarding on Teams or via chatbot, and this is back and forth. I hope you saw them signing DocuSign. I hope their transition back into as an employee where they were getting training and support, and we're going to talk about training and support now. This training, right, so critical, because onboarding training is the second experience that you go through after the onboarding process, where you are really getting to know the company. And what you need is really an ability of pull and push. So one of the common experiences we've found is companies are trying to train everyone upfront on all the things that they think they need. And that means you're trying to train them too much. And nobody can, kind of keep all this in the brain, right? So they kind of lose it. Most of the traditional LMS system are any push system. They can just push information and then forget about it. It's a one-way street. I'm going to push 20 systems to you, and and I don't care after what happens after that. But I think you need is a pull and a push capability. You don't need to train them about everything, but you want to give them access to information so that when they come in and they have a question, they can quickly go in the flow of the work and ask a question. So how you train is fundamentally changing. By the way, where you train is also fundamentally changing. The modern systems like ours are training people in teams where everyone is already, right? Everyone is on Teams. They are not in some LMS system. They are not in some other system, ticketing system. They are sitting in Teams. So it's better to train employees where they are. And another innovation in this space is that people should be able to ask questions if they're not clear about any training. What do you do next, right? Typically, you actually tend to ignore your issues and move on because the training is something that you just have to go through. What if you can ask questions about your training, and the questions could be answered either by a bot or by a human? So that kind of feedback loop is very, very important. Another innovation which has come here is a creation of training videos using AI. So you can write a text and create a video of a person, real person, using AI. So there's a lot of innovation happening in this space, and companies like us, we are focusing on training on Teams. We believe that the traditional channels are done. This is how a training on Teams looks like. This is our learning submodule, which where you can go through programs and learnings, and you can assign training to yourself. And it's a complete LMS, but on Teams, but a modern LMS, which multimedia and whatnot, with chatbot built within it. Now, apart from providing better, training once you're on, now you need better support. So better support means, not like the example I gave where someone wrote an email and nobody responded to them for 3 days, and by now you're already kind of mad. You want instantaneous support. You want instantaneous handholding. You want answers to the questions right away. You want ability for the system to go look in other systems and provide you answers. So for example, if I ask a question about my leaves or my certain policy or my, HRA, the system should be able to go and look up information and give me the information based on whatever privileges have been provided to the system by the company. But a single stop shop is what a lot of employees will be happy about instead of going to different, different solutions. So employee support and especially streamlining employee support is very, very important from an employee perspective. Like said, you want to report harassment, you any kind of question that you have, you can get it done within the product. Next comes surveys, right? And this is such a hot topic right now. Everyone wants to understand what the employees are going through. And this can be done in multiple ways. One is the traditional surveys. You can have a survey system, send them surveys. Hopefully they will read the email, they will open the survey, they can give the survey. But the information about employee mind can be gathered in a lot of ways, by what tickets they're raising, by what issues they're talking about with the bot, by what kind of trainings that they're subscribing to. So there is and of course, if there is a survey, it should be within Teams again, in our opinion, Teams or Slack. We do not believe that the surveys again is a thing that you should be doing outside somewhere. All of this should be built within a single platform, single channel where you can quickly engage. Also, in a lot of companies, this is true for a lot of companies today. If you want to build a survey and send a survey, it seems like a month-long job. You'll think about the survey, you'll figure out how to put in the system, you'll figure out when to roll it out. Seems like a mini project. The modern surveys will be literally done within minutes. So you should be able to build a survey and send a survey within a minute. And they can be about more trivial things as well. They don't necessarily have to be about this huge important things. For example, how do you like the new office? Or what do you think of the new travel policy? But hey, what if we do this Friday? So it could be light, it could be funny. This is very important. And all this data should be able to be analyzed to give you actionable intelligence, both at an aggregate level and at an employee level. So surveys are becoming very important, but we do believe the surveys being done in a traditional manner are not as effective as they can be. For example, this is a survey around employee feedback, being feedback on some policy on Teams, and it's a very simple one. Are you happy with the changes made? Happy, neutral, unhappy, and you're done. And thanks for the feedback, and you're done. Now, other things is better engagement, right? So you got to engage with the employees. That means you need a channel really where you are kind of doing this back and forth. Again, I'll come to my theme. Teams is a great channel. So for example, you have to send HR notifications, right? Saying, hey, New Year bonus for all employees will be sent on this. Or, so-and-so policy has been updated. Or enjoy, 4th of July tomorrow, right? Or whatever it might be. Creating this bond, right, which is back and forth, and maybe even making gamification of this, right? For example, sending a small question of the day, which is a quiz, right? Interesting quiz. Whoever wins the quiz gets $50 Amazon gift card. So gamification of this entire process is very important, because we should not feel alone. We should kind of talk about who won and what happened, and this replacement, or at least a substitution or augmentation of some of the things that we have lost, they need to be brought back, which is the engagement with employees. Another thing is that new processes are being built all the time. For example, there's a particular company that we work with which has vaccination status workflow, right? Where you upload your vaccination card, they will look at it either by HR person or a bot, and they will confirm that the vaccination card has been done, right? Or there's someone is walking into the building. This is towards the beginning of the pandemic. One company we know deployed that, where if you're walking into the building, you want to work from building that day, you have to quickly go and go online to the bot and say, I want to work today, and the bot will ask, okay, tell me about your health history. Are you feeling okay or whatnot, right? Whatever the survey was. And if you say yes, then the bot will send you an email with green pass, and because you self-attested, and now you can walk in, right? But if you get a red pass, then you cannot walk in today. It's okay. So these kind of new workflows during pandemic, a lot of these new things came, and people said, I need this and I did this. But just imagine how many systems are you going to add, right? I already talked about 4 or 5 different kind of needs to engage your employee in work from anywhere environment. And does it mean you have to buy more systems? We believe that more systems is equal to confused employees, because even without our HR kind of systems and compliance systems, employees have already 10, 20, 30 applications that they're working with. They need to know about those applications, right? To get their job done, and to expense things out and whatnot. Now you're telling them that I'm going to add 4 more things because I want to help you, right? I'm really a good person. I'm trying to help you, but I'm going to add 5 more systems, which will have 5 more login ID in 5 more different places where you need to remember. You think that is a great idea? I don't think anyone thinks that's a great idea. So therefore, what you're looking at is what we call teamsification, right? There's a term that we have coined called teamsification. So that means your employee survey, your FAQs, your uh, access to policy and procedures, your employee onboarding, employee offboarding, your change management, your learning experience, your employee help desk, everything in one place. And that is Teams. Even within Teams, a single app. So that as far as the employee is concerned, you are telling them, when you need help, you go here. It's not a complicated message. You're giving a very simple message so that the employee actually just follows that message. When they need help, they're going here. That's it. So that is where the industry is moving, right? I mean, it's not just us, but you will find, a lot of people I'm sure here are already doing research, but this is where the industry is going. And unfortunately, a lot of companies which are buying still these 5 different softwares and 6 different softwares are going to be talking at the end of 2022. We bought a bunch of software, but it doesn't seem to help. That brings us to the pretty much the last topic, which is employee service index. And what that means is we should be measuring how we are serving our employees, right? So we do appraisals of employees. Every employee has to sit 6 months or a year or a quarter or whatever, and tell them how they did and whether they did well or they didn't do well. Well, the same is true for us as well as employers. We need to evaluate ourselves and say, did we help our employees? Did we provide the level of service to them that they deserve? Because, and by the way, Resolve has a proprietary way of measuring employee service index, and we are actually planning to integrate this in our product. But longer story short, you should have a way to tell what kind of service you're providing, and that should be a number for the lack of, if you being reductive, there should be a number that you could look at and say, well, I'm at 6 and I need to go to 8, right? Because if I reach 8, that means I'm doing a bunch of things right by the employee. Well, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was thought-provoking. I hope that this helped you, think differently, rather than just buying a lot of softwares for a lot of different problems. Think in a different strategic way. Think on how you're going to use Microsoft Teams. Think how you can simplify the employee experience, and really how you can employ the engagement, and what is the definition of the new employee engagement, right? What are the different dimensions of new employee engagement? Anyway, this is our view. I'll welcome if you have any questions or comments. I'm very happy to react to any questions and comments. So there's a question about employee service index, where they're asking, how can we know more about employee service index? Well, it's on our website. You can go to, there's a blog where we've written extensively about employee service index and how to create it and how to lock it, or we can help you with that. So that's a very simple thing, but a lot of organizations are getting interested in employee service index. I suppose this was it for now. I thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your interaction, and thank you for a time of your day. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you around again. Thank you.